I'm pretty sure that spring is here. It is now April 10th, and I can see buds coming out on the trees. I can see the grass is green. The temperature, if I can say temperature correctly, the temperature has changed. It is now warmer. It's only getting warmer from here. Um, Blossoming. Yes. That's actually, I would argue that that has a lot to do with the theme of today's video, blossoming. And specifically in regards to relationships. I have been going through something for about a month now, and more recently it's gotten a lot more challenging to deal with. I'm not going to say what it is or anything. I don't name names or talk about what it is that I'm going through, but what I do is talk about my experiences and reflect and just insights and everything. Um, I really feel like over the past month, but more so even recently, I've been very humbled. I have been in emotional pain. Some things have been exceedingly difficult to deal with. Um, but it's really been humbling me to a very large degree, which, you know, I express gratitude for. I think it's important to be humbled. I think it's important to be reminded of just how human you are. You know, you're not immune to anything, and anything can happen in life. And while that's scary, it also just kind of brings me back to my humanness and in this case, at this point right now, a very profound reminder that anything can happen in life, you know? Um, what I really want to talk about here, though, in terms of the theme of, blossoming relationships, um, something that I've really been looking at a lot is the capacity for a person to create space in their relationships. Um, Throughout my entire life, in many different relationships that I've had, I think that myself included, but the other people that I've had relationships with, probably whether platonic or romantic, but specifically romantic, there's been a lot of suffocation. There's been, and it's fascinating too because there are like two opposite ends of the spectrum here, right? There is, there can be like a fear of abandonment. I've had that. I've feared abandonment in my relationships, but there can also be a fear of engulfment, right? So one is that you're afraid the person's going to abandon you. The other one is that you're afraid that you're going to be suffocated by the person, right? And I'm specifically looking at the suffocation aspect of everything in regards to relationships in this video, which is why it's really important to create space in your relationships. But I really want to look at that more specifically and more clearly and understand it for what it actually is, right? Because what does it really mean to create space in your relationships, right? I would say the logistics of that, based on what I've learned, are really, really boundaries, and it's not just boundaries in the sense of, like, this is my stuff, that's your stuff, but like not making somebody be so sucked into your life, understanding what it is that is your responsibility and understanding what it is that is other people's responsibility, and not letting that get confused. There's a train going by right now and it just honked its horn. um and I'm sweating because it's really hot. It's hot as fuck in this car. um so yeah, creating space in your relationships, not just a matter of boundaries, which healthy boundaries do create space in your relationships, right? They allow for more of a balance rather than engulfment or abandonment, but also just allowing a person to be themselves. One of the most dominant themes in like all of my relationships have been like a lack of allowing a person to be themselves. I've really felt like the rescuer, and I felt like I needed to save people from their stuff rather than boundaries, allowing them to be the captain of their fucking ship and take care of stuff on their own, because you need to learn to do that as an individual. As a mature adult individual, healthy individual, you need to learn to take care of things on your own, and that's just the way that it is. It's just so fascinating because throughout my life, I've utilized dynamics of control to feel safe in my relationships, and I'm realizing that that's a trauma response, repetition compulsion, of course, and that's just not the way that healthy, long-term, sustainable relationships work. Like, if you try to control somebody, there's going to be a lot of resistance there. There is. If you do everything that they want you to do, there's going to be resistance there, right? When you are not seen, when you're not felt, when you're not, known as, an autonomous individual, right? Capable of making your own decisions, thinking, feeling, and behaving for yourself, it's just like there's no separation. And that's the important thing here, because it's important to understand that healthy individuation and differentiation play key parts in this. They really do. To individuate, to divide yourself away from, maybe the family of origin, whoever it is that you were raised with, to differentiate, to know the difference between self and other, right? Boundaries. This is my stuff, that's your stuff, period. This all comes down to the foundation of creating space in relationships. And it's necessary to create space in relationships, because if you don't, you're not going to be dealing with somebody who is healthy, and you're going to be dealing with somebody who has a fear of both engulfment and abandonment, right? And that's just the way that it is. I've been spending a lot of time by myself recently, and it's actually been challenging for me because I'm used to the exact opposite. I'm used to being around people. And it's actually kind of bringing feelings of, like, depressiveness out in me. And it's kind of challenging to, like, be with those feelings, right? Because, like, it kind of gets extreme, and, it makes me think things that are, just kind of, like, challenging to sit with and everything. I'm not going to get into the fabric of it or anything, but holy shit, I'm sweating like crazy. It's hot as hell in this car. It's challenging to be a fucking human. It really is. It's challenging to, hold relationships with people, to maintain them. I say this now, and maybe I might change my perspective in the future. I don't know. But really, like, in terms of relationships, from what I've learned and understand, the healthiest and most successful relationships out there, they entail of two individuals that are individuals. They are autonomous. They, are individuated and differentiated and everything. There's no engulfment. There's no abandonment. There's, none of that stuff. There's healthy communication, this, that, and the other. But really, just the theme here again is the creating of space in relationships. It doesn't matter what your relationship is, whether it's platonic or romantic. It's just creating space, right? Actually, let me just say this before I end this video off. I have lived in profound fear in my relationships because I was scared to both create and give space in my relationships because I was afraid that I would be left. And I was also afraid that if I created space in my relationships, then I would lose interest in people. But I've learned that that's just not the way that it works, right? It's not that way at all. It's very fascinating. And actually, I'm thinking about somebody specifically right now. I remember telling this person, I was in a relationship before, and I remember telling this person that the person that I was in a relationship with, we were taking a break. We were taking a break for like a month. And he said something to me that I had never heard before. I've heard of the term fasting, right? And I think of it in terms of food, right? You fast from food, right? But he said to me, he was like, relationship fasting is a healthy thing. And I was like, really? I've never heard of that. Like, whenever I've taken a break from somebody, it's usually ended. So, um, it's just kind of like, and I'm not even talking about like taking a break from somebody. I'm just talking about giving space, creating space, for lack of a better, couple of words, backing the fuck off. You can suffocate people. It's actually very easy to. If you don't have healthy boundaries, if you don't communicate your needs and you don't listen to them communicate their needs, you can also make people feel like they're going to be abandoned, it's just a matter of creating space. And I'll end off with this, I swear. Another important thing of creating space in relationships actually has to do with communication and making the people that you're in relationships with, whether platonic or romantic, aware that the space is a safe space. What does that mean? Open communication. There are no words here, of course. I'm just open communication. Really, it's like, whenever someone says, my door is always open to you, that's what it is. Whatever you need to say, just say it. Of course, be, respectful and everything. Be kind, be considerate, but be communicative. And that's all it is. I mean, that's not all it is, but that's a lot.